This is Jonathan Shapiro
and Taylor Martin,
writers of episode 503, Miss Rebecca Thrall. You're listening to The Blacklist, exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
When you clearly want to lie about something, the best course of action is to tell the truth. Welcome to the award-winning Blacklist Exposed podcast. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and I just want some pickle bites. That's it. That's all I got this week because I'm really hungry. Thanks for joining us once again as we discuss number 76 on the Blacklist, Miss Rebecca Thrall, written by Jonathan Shapiro and Taylor Martin, and directed by Adam Weisinger. Show notes and other intel for this episode of the Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com.
Last week, we asked all of you to tell us who is Oleander. And we did a little poll for this one, and 40% of you said that it's a code name for somebody we already know. 28% of you thought it might be another Kaplan Confederate. 13% said someone from the FBI, CIA, or NSA. 12%, pretty close, came in with a cabal member. 5% said a foreign government operative. 1% said Nick specifically. I don't know if he would fall under the Kaplan Confederate or not.
Oleander is Nick?
Yeah.
1% said that?
1%
really?
said Nick.
It's an oddly specific guess. Okay.
And 1% said this season's Big Bad.
Come on, that's a little too easy.
Which could be Nick as well.
Could be. Let's put those all together. Also, Simon Poole just threw in there based on what we know. My thoughts.
Simone, but it could just be me.
You know what? The E is silent. So we go, all right, Simone Poole. Based on what we know, my thoughts are it's another of Kaplan's Truth Army. Could it be someone red? No, sure. Most of Kate's crew are Red's people. And Monica Stolfa says C. Duke or Cooper's new boss or both one and the same.
Well, that would be interesting. Cooper's boss is C. Duke.
It would be. You know what else would be good is if I was confident in saying someone's name now, because that Simone, you ruined it for me for the rest of the. I'm going to be repeating everybody's name or saying it very, very slowly.
Better than Simon E, but okay. Let's go ahead and move on to next week's profiling question, which is: should Ressler take Red up on his offer? Why or why not? Some good
that's
discussion.
A really good
there.
question.
It is.
Well, you say that because it was your question.
It was my question this week.
Yeah.
So.
Every time it's Troy's question, he likes it so much more than when I picked it.
Troy's question.
You can't do it yourself. I do it. That's the only time that works.
All right. Now let's get on with the show, Lamb Chop. We ain't got all day.
All right. Miss Rebecca Thrall. Number 76 on the Blacklist Exposed is Miss Rebecca Thrall. This week, Red directs Liz towards some crooked cops. More to the point, cops that are coerced into killing unarmed perps to benefit a lawyer who has insured these clients for millions. So essentially, Rebecca Thrall, played by Kate Warner, Sarah Winter, 24 fans, you get that, makes this offer to a cop in person, no disguise, and these cops have no criminal past whatsoever. Can
I just pause you there for a second? She comes up in the broad daylight to a cop and says... Yeah. Hey, do you want to kill somebody? What did you arrest the person on the spot? Okay, just saying. Moving on.
Hang on. I'm coming back to that. So you hold that thought, Seymour. Hold on tight. She offers to assist the officers with their family bills or treatment of a family member in exchange for their assassin skills, and also mentions these victims have cognitive disorders, as if that should make it any easier. Now we can talk about the setup. Okay, how do you buy the setup? I'm watching it, and I should point out that I am a criminal justice major in college. So yeah, I respect law enforcement, but I also see the faults in law enforcement. And I felt watching this episode, with the political climate and the way things have been over the situation, this is a little dicey of a topic. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, especially with the anthem stuff from the NFL going on and focused on cop shootings and things of that nature. I thought this one was a little...
that's racial inequality is what that's focused on. Yeah, but I see what you're saying. But that's what spawned it.
It spawns it, right? And it's the question of, is that something that we should talk about, touch? I think it's good conversation. I think it's good to bring up. But at the same time, I just want to be entertained. I don't want to have... I mean, the fake news comment last week was funny. haha, it was like a quick throw in. This was kind of in your face kind of situation this week.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about it. This episode, I'm of two minds. First and foremost, two minds. One, all the character stuff I loved. I really did. I did love. The cop thing was really, it's hard to swallow for me, honestly. And it's not that I disliked the episode, because I did enjoy the episode, but that particular side of it, it kind of took me out of the episode when it happened, if that's fair.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, for me, it was the whole life insurance policy taken out on somebody that they've already paid out something. I swear we've seen this concept before in the Blacklist in the last 5 seasons. I don't know if it was a retread or I just seen it enough on television that I'm like, oh, it's the whole life insurance thing. It felt like, dare I say, Criminal Minds or NCIS, where it was, I know that some people think those are quality shows, but they're pretty campy in a lot of ways. And I felt that topic just seemed a little too, dare I say, CBS-ish.
Yeah, you know what? I love Hawaii Five-0, so I take that as an insult. I don't appreciate that comment. I had a hard time buying it, because I think I did like that Cooper had the speech about most law enforcement wants to do good. Most cops want to do good. I thought that was necessary to make that work. And you could tell that they were very conscious of the current environment, of the situation. And at the end, you have a female black cop and a female black suspect. So you don't have the white cop and the black suspect, because I think that would completely rip you out of the episode.
Agree.
They were trying to just tell the story. And I respect that, and I acknowledge it, and I admire that they at least were conscious of it and, tried to tell their story without making it a political thing. But I think as charged as that issue has been, there's no way to not make it a conversation point. But that wasn't really my big problem. My big problem was I can't buy that cops would do it. I just had a hard time swallowing that you're going to be able to go up to a cop, that you don't know, with apparently, didn't even have the Gimp mask on, just basically just went up and, hey, remember me? I was on 24. Yeah. And say, hey, would you, kill this guy? And I will take care of your medical bills. Here's how all this is going to work out. I just have a hard time buying that setup to begin with.
Well, let me ask you this question. If your mom was we talked about your mom now 2 weeks, so let's keep it going.
I would not do it. I thought about that. I would not do it.
You would not do it if your mom was
Nope.
gravely ill and someone handed you $1 million.
Nope.
If all you had to do was take this one person out and your mom would live forever, you still would not do it.
Well, now we're throwing forever into it. Now it's a fairy tale.
Well, 90, 100, whatever.
No, I wouldn't. I'll tell you what, to be perfectly honest, I did actually. I considered the exact scenario. What if it was my mother and I was a cop? Like I said, I was a criminal justice man, so it's easy to put myself in those shoes. And I wouldn't do it. My mom would be disappointed in me. So no, I wouldn't do it. It would crush me, because I'd be like, well, there's your saving grace. But taking a life to gain a life isn't really the right answer to me. So no, I wouldn't. You?
No, definitely would not. Killing is something I cannot do.
I don't know, man. It sounded like you were hesitant because you were selling me on it. I think you were committed. That's what I'm thinking.
If it was your mom, I think you might step over the line. I think you would for your mom. I would. If it was for me, no. Gosh, no. You'd be like, keep. I'll pay you to make you go away.
Trey, I wouldn't even take the meeting. I'd be like, I guess this isn't. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work out. No. This business proposition isn't going to work out. No, he'll be fine. I figured if it was anybody that would do it, it would be you for your mom. That'd be the only scenario where it might actually cross the line. I wouldn't. No, maybe for your kids. Maybe if it would have been for a police officer's kids, or they were holding them hostage, it would have been an easier sell for me. And I feel like we're digging on the episode. I really don't mean that. The character stuff was great. Sincerely,
yeah, I think we should probably state that, right? I felt like this was a tale of 2 TV shows intertwined into one. So you had like the task force thing with this insurance company and Rebecca Thrall and the Blacklister, which it didn't feel like a Blacklister, I guess, is maybe what the thing is. Yeah, and I think that maybe we were trying to figure out like how do these Blacklisters so far this season relate to Red, and I think the MO so far has been it's a diversion so that the task force can go do this thing over here while Red is going over and doing this thing over there. Mm-hmm. And this was definitely a very separate episode, because when you look at Red and all of his friends and all of that stuff this week, it was like probably one of the better episodes by far. I mean, we'll get into Glenn and Dembe and the touchiness and feeling tears and all that stuff as we go on, but that stuff felt like it was right on point. The task forcey stuff felt kind of like, we just had to throw something in there to have something to cut away to kind of this week.
And you know what's funny is I think with the character moments in particular, the last two, it's really weird this season because I've really enjoyed, the episodes so far, and that includes this one. Please don't take what I was saying. Like that one aspect of the show I wasn't a big fan of. Everything else I really enjoyed. But I've talked to a lot of listeners about the show, and there's a very divided camp. Have you noticed this? Where some of us are really enjoying hey, we've got a new tone. It's very playful. We none of us really think it's going to stay that way. I don't think. But there are some viewers that really don't seem to be a fan of that. And I really enjoy the change of pace, and I think it's a lot of fun. And then this episode comes along, and I think it's a little bit more like the character stuff anyway. It's a lot more like the Blacklist from previous seasons. It's a little darker. There's quirk to it. There's humor to it, but it's a little darker and more serious in tone. There's an end game. There's a lot going on, and people really seem engaged by that. But the other camp, and like now, then there are people saying, well, now it lost the tone a little bit. I'm just confused where people are with it, the show right now, because I am having a blast with it, minus the cop thing that I already talked about. I don't have a problem so far. Do you have any problems at all? I mean, are you hearing the same things I'm hearing? Or
No, definitely hearing the same things. It's like there's the camp that really loves, the way Liz Keene's being portrayed. They love Red, in his shorts and his ball cap, and I think that kind of stuff is working for me so far this season. It's you have to still work in the other side of the house that just enjoys the dark tone of the Blacklist. And maybe that was there with this Blacklister in a way compared to the first two episodes of the season, where it was more fun, upbeat, criminal, Ocean's 11, Smokey Putnam. This one seemed a little more darker, especially if you go into her basement. But at the same time, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, let's go into her basement. She's a fun lady.
It just felt a little, I don't know, off or something. I had a hard time. And there was just some weird cut points too. Like when she was in the basement, like she goes down to the basement.
That hit you a little too close to home, did it?
Well, she goes in the basement and
you got your new house and you got your own little Gimp room. And you're like, man, I don't appreciate seeing this on my TV.
No. But yeah, no, she like leans in and it cuts the commercial. And I was like, what? To me, it's like, what did the basement have to do with anything? It was two scenes. Did we even need it in the show? It almost kind of threw you off a little bit. Like she was supposed to be a different person. Or, how one of the fake Jen, Alice, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Alice. She was like, mom by day and then, Jen by night, but not really the Jen. It seemed like that's what they were kind of going with this character, Rebecca Thrall. But at the same time, Rebecca Thrall didn't seem all that interesting. And then, they threw in the basement thing to make it interesting, and it didn't really work, I don't think.
I think it was more to make it more Blacklisty because it was more dark and obscene. I don't want to say obscene because, hey, you're into whatever you're into, but absurd. I think a lot of the Blacklisters are a little, they have that little quirky edge that makes them almost absurd to a degree. And I think there's that, and I think that's part of what it was thrown in. Otherwise, it's kind of, like you said, an NCIS type device. But I don't know. I think that's what it was thrown into. It works for, I liked it and it worked fine for the episode, but really the character stuff is what got me this week. The Blacklister wasn't really gelling with me. I have to be perfectly honest, and it wasn't.
Correct. I agree.
And, we talked about how do we feel about the cop angle and how polarizing that was. What about Gimp survivors? Was it fair to them to have this? Is Bruce Willis watching this going, man, that's not funny, guys?
Okay, no.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Of course, the task force stops this cop from shooting an innocent person. I really loved the Liz moment where she had her dead in her sights and she's like, don't make me say it again. This ain't a warning, lady. I will shoot. That whole moment was great. And this leads to them bringing down Rebecca and their friends at Water Day. FYI, your insurance rates just went up.
Yes, they did. They're a national company that did 1,400 loans last year. To me, 1,400 loans at a national company seems like they aren't having a great year.
You said that and you scared the crap out of me. Like, wait, they're a real company?
No.
Now I'm concerned.
No, they're not a real company.
Yes, they said it in the show. I forgot. Can you believe that guy puts on a Gimp suit? He just does not seem like a Gimp guy.
I was trying to figure. So that's my problem with the whole secret sexy room was, what's the connection between the two of them? They never made the connection. Like, are they husband and wife just having a thing? Are they partners? Are they? It was never explained. You see the Gimp room the first time, and
did your mom never have this talk with you? I mean, here's what they were doing. It's a sexy thing. It's a sexy thing. But they're not obviously not married, because her killing him would implicate her. So they're just having a fling. That's all. But
at the same time, they never really connected very briefly connected the reason why they were working together, because of the insurance policy stuff. But it was
that was your indication that she was not what you thought she was.
Right.
That's what I think that was for. And also to make her a little more Blacklisty. Darker, edgier, / absurd.
See, I think it would have worked better, like, if the killer cops were, after they did the deed, like, she takes them down into the Gimp room.
Or exaggerated. Maybe not absurd is the wrong word. Exaggerated.
Right.
Maybe that's the word I want.
But I mean, from a Blacklist perspective, I think what we would have seen, like in season 1, was that after the cops do the deed, then she would take them down into the Gimp room as, like, the payment, for rewarding them for doing what she needed done. I think that would have been more Blacklisty season 1 type of style. I don't know if you can do that at 8 o'clock, but
I really have nothing I can say to that isn't both juvenile and immature, so, which are both the same word. But okay, let's move on to characters. Everything I want to say is just going to make people stop listening to the podcast. Let's go into characters. Let's start with music, buddy.
Absolutely. As Red and Dembe watch the impressive work of 2 elephants, and no, we're not talking about Smokey and his pals, Supermoon from Ickaby Shakedown is heard. Then, as the plane lands on the newly created runway, which was built in less time than it was on the island, we hear My Time Is Coming by Mark Sibylla. Later, as Tom gets a phone call from Nick. Sibylla. It should be Sibylla. I think that's how it's said. Later, as Tom gets a phone call from Nick and Red, gives Ressler a proposition. We hear Lit Me Up from Brand New. And then finally, as Glenn joins Dembe and Red around the fire outside their new home, I guess, we are treated to the song Home Again from Michael Kiwanuka.
Yeah, it was like, is it a Lost reference? I don't know. It felt I thought Troy was getting very excited. Were you getting a little excited at the end?
I was waiting for like a Sawyer and Kate cameo breaking some rocks. Yeah.
That would have been great. All right, moving on to the other characters. And you know what was funny? I noticed about this. I didn't really hear songs early.
No, like it wasn't until the elephants showed up that we got the first actual song, lyrical music number in the episode.
Were you surprised with that? Because it's not normally the Blacklist case.
We have a comment about that. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, I didn't read the comments. I like to be surprised. So I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. Samara and Cooper have very little to do this episode, but I did once again want to say Cooper gave a very heartfelt speech to the audience about how most cops are good and ultimately want to do the right thing. I again think that was with this particular storyline, it was imperative to have that.
Especially because it was between him and Ressler having the debate in that conversation at the time, given Ressler's storyline. Very, very pointed.
Yeah, and that's probably fair because when you're having a story about dirty cops and he's having his storyline, so it did run in line with his storyline. So I get that. I get what they were trying to do with that. That works. Aram comes through as he completely puts together exactly what is going on with Rebecca's plan. I would say I would like a little bit more screen time for Aram, but what we got I thought was very good, and solving the entire case is a pretty big deal.
Well, I mean, last week you asked for more schematics from Aram. This week you got some more schematics.
I did get some more schematics. I was pretty excited.
I mean, they're giving you what you want. Geez, lay off a little bit.
Stop yelling at me.
But I agree. Aram needs to be a little bit more in the forefront, especially after what he's been through the last couple of seasons. It seems like he's been kind of slid to the back burner a little bit. But you kind of have to.
They got a lot of characters. They got a lot of characters going on. I thought they did a good split this week, though, with Tom and Ressler.
Agree.
Usually there's always this thing that when Tom is prominent in an episode, Ressler isn't going to show up. He's going to be moving paintings around, and vice versa. If Ressler's prominent, Tom's taking a back seat. That's always seems to be the way. I thought they had a really good balance of the two of them, where they both felt important in the episode. Of course, that meant Samara and Ram and Cooper weren't around. Yeah,
exactly.
But, somebody always pays the price. Dembe was pretty much the muscle in waiting for most of the episode. Agreed?
Agreed. But he does like the outdoors.
Who doesn't?
Well, he's converted, right? Before he was like, he didn't want to be around that campfire with Red. He's like, let's get out of here. And now he's like, I like it out here. It's nice and quiet, peaceful. Just be careful.
I'm sorry. You probably have to...
Well, I was just saying, just be careful, Dembe, because last time someone was outside enjoying the peace and quiet, they got shot in the face.
Good call. Do you think anybody's going to notice that a plane is now a home for someone? I mean, it feels like I've gone camping a lot, backpacking. I go backpacking. I already talked about that last week. But I'm pretty sure that I would pay attention to somebody living in a plane in the middle of the woods.
But remember,
that would strike a concern.
They had to find the most remote place for the plane to land that the FAA wouldn't be able to find it. So it might be a while before a hiker stumbles across them.
Wasn't that great how Smokey made the runway? I was actually wondering myself how they were going to do that.
I know.
I thought that was pretty clever. Whichever one of you, Jonathan or Taylor, whoever thought of that, that was pretty clever.
That's a lot of trees to clear.
Yeah, that was good. All right, now we're at Tom. We're zipping right along because really they're the five main characters that carried the story, the crux of the story this week. Tom functions for a lot of the episode as fodder for Red's plan because he agrees to help him and then he becomes collateral, which was hilarious. Really? That was probably my favorite moment of the episode, honestly. So well done, Ryan, on that one. But mainly what I want to talk about is the conversation in the ATF van. And I'll talk about Nick in a second, but the conversation where they're in the ATF van and Red's manipulation has already played itself out. Tom says, I know you say you never lie to Liz, but I know that's not true. And Red's like, well, do you now? Yeah, I know. What did you think about that conversation?
I was trying to figure out if that was the ploy to tell the audience that the Red never lies to Liz is complete BS, or if it was Tom not really understanding the full scope of what he thinks he knows, and then trying to decipher if Red knows that Tom knows what he has or doesn't have in the suitcase. So I think it was, I guess the first question is, did you know at this moment that the guys that picked up Red and Tom were actually Red's guys, or did you believe them to be FBI?
Oh, no, I never thought they were FBI.
Yeah, you thought it was
or
Smokey.
ATF. It was ATF.
Yeah, you thought it was Smokey from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely, because I just knew that there was a plan. Like, this was a double cross. I knew that from the get-go because he said he was going to borrow $1 million and he'd give it back quick. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, the whole Tom conversation, I thought it was quite interesting, especially given the fact that Tom knows what he knows, and he saw Red and Dembe, rough up, what was his name, Abe? Dennison? Albert Dennison. And
I just keep saying because I didn't know. So I was just gonna nod and say, yeah, that sounds right.
So I'm just surprised Tom divulges as much as he does. Like he ran his mouth more than I thought he should, given what he saw out of the closet last week.
I don't know. I actually respected that he did that because I think he was looking at it like, I'm going away. If I'm going away, I got to get this out, man. I know you're full of it. You're just, I actually respected that. He said he stood up as Liz's husband, which I've always said I had an issue with them as a couple. And a lot of that has to do with I never really felt like he was a very good husband. And that's a very husbandly thing to do. That's a very, defending your significant other. I thought that was a very respectful way to do it. And I like that he called him out and said, I think you're full of it. I really like that moment. I like that Tom had that moment with Red because they keep doing this back and forth and he's helping him and he's smiling and he's drinking wine with him and everything else. And that conversation should happen. Much like you think that Cooper Liz conversation should happen. I think that conversation should happen with Tom and Red, and it finally did.
Yeah, because I'm still... Their relationship is the most interesting on the show, and I really like that they worked together this week in the episode, because with knowing that Red originally planted Tom to begin with in Liz's life, and then Tom goes against the grain, to join up with Berlin to go after Red. And now they're back together again, and they have that whole tussle. I think it was at the end of, was it the mid-season 2 break, where he's like, you'll never marry her. And then he was like, oh, because I didn't ask Daddy's permission. I mean, just the dynamic between the two of these characters. I think there's a lot of the show mythology between the two of them, and I'm just curious who's really telling the truth and who's really not. Because Tom is very much the same manipulator as Red in a lot of ways.
Does that make you doubt that Red doesn't lie to Liz mantra?
I don't know if I've ever really believed it, to be quite honest.
You've sold it to me like 80 times. How do you mean you don't believe it?
I never sold it. I just said that it's a rule that has come up. I was also told by Damon Lindelof that it wasn't purgatory, and then they do a purgatory episode in the 6th season. But, it just depends on who you want to believe and how you want to believe it. I mean, you got to go back to the beginning. Criminals are notorious liars.
I actually talked to a Lost writer, and it was originally supposed to be purgatory till the audience figured it out. I'm just, shh, don't tell anyone. That's trade secret. I don't know if I agree with that. I think you've tried to sell me on the Red doesn't like. Go to the tape, guys. Go to the tape. He has convinced me on this, or tried to convince me on this many, many times, and I've said I don't know if I believe that to be true. I think many of the writers hold it to be true, and it probably is true because he does so much dancing with his dialogue that it's very possible that he has never lied to Liz. I don't, the whole dad, like, I'm not your father. Like I said before, that's easily explained because he considers Sam her father. So even if he is her father, he doesn't see, or bloodline father.
Biological father, yeah.
Biological, thank you. Big words, they elude me. So even if he is, he's, we've already had that conversation. He's that would be true, a true statement from him. So I don't know if I disbelieve it, but I think it was planned to. It was a good conversation to be had, and it's good to remind people that what he's saying might not be the truth. In fact, he's never actually said he was her father. So that's an important thing to remember, that he hasn't actually taken that throne. He hasn't claimed it for himself.
Well, he
has said she's my daughter.
Under duress. Under
duress, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, but he has said those statements, but he's never said, I am your father.
Right.
So, interesting. All right, well, moving on with Tom, we've got Nick, who put Tom in touch with a med school burnout who can piece together the DNA. This part I'm getting a little frustrated. We're 3 episodes in, and we're finally doing something with those bones. Is that bothering you, or are you like, yeah, this is probably the natural progression? It was going to take a while kind of thing.
I think I just went in assuming that if they have an 8, 9, 10 episode run before the Olympics or whatever they have to tie up to for a quote-unquote fall finale, that the bones weren't going to be answered until at least then anyway. So I'm not expecting any rapid progression. But at the same time, if you're like, yeah, it's going to take me a while to do some digging to get the DNA out because of the air exposure and blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, dude's got DNA already. It's like, and?
Like, so what is your time frame? Like, what is the time frame where Troy says, okay, we need some answer on the bones? Like, the one thing I run is a male or female. That should be able to be deciphered by looking at the bones, by the bone structure itself. You don't really need DNA. I wouldn't think for that.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the same time, if they say they technically have this DNA sample now, I would expect an answer by next week. Like, they have a DNA sample. Okay, we'll go run it through the machine. Takes a couple hours.
Well, they would have to have the DNA in the database. It's not going to be in the database. I'd bet money on that.
That's how they stretch it out, right?
I get that.
We ran it through, and there's no match.
I get that, but the sex of the bones should be decided by next week. I see no reason why that shouldn't come up by next week. If it's not in next week's episode, I would have concern. Like, okay, you've got a med school student who's apparently smarter than Dr. Nick. He should be able to decipher if the bones are male or female. Agree or disagree?
Well, anybody's smarter than Dr. Nick. He got involved with Red, so.
You still aren't answering my question. Agree or disagree that they should have that answer by next week?
Well, I guess it depends. Was the pelvic bone in the suitcase?
Boy, no, I'm going to hold you to it. Yes or no. By next week, they should have an answer, male or female.
There should be some answer by next week.
Okay.
Because they do have the DNA extracted.
And they have the bones. You can tell if the bones are male. The skeletal. You took biology, yeah?
Yeah.
You should be able to decipher if it's male or female by the bones.
Like these things,
Yes or no?
These things could have been degrading though for 20 years. So it depends on how degraded they are.
The pelvis shape will determine that, though. If you've got a med school burnout who's brilliant, I think you should be able to like hang the bones up just like he's on Halloween and go, "Yep, girl."
But you're assuming there's a pelvic bone in the briefcase. They could have hid the pelvic bone somewhere else. Spread the remains so that you don't have the full picture of the story.
Now you're just making it weird.
If I was a criminal, that's what I would do. I'd bury half of it here, half of it there, half of it over there, or a third and a third and a third because I can't do math. But
all right, well, now that we know that Troy can't be trusted with anything because he's going to cut you up if he doesn't like what you have to say, we're going to move on to Ressler, who is officially a criminal. Ah, you did it. I really thought he wasn't going to do it.
He's not a criminal. All he did was get a car to impound.
Once he saw the body, he's a criminal. Unless he turns it in. Yeah, he's a cop. He's a criminal. So he cleaned up for the cleaner. Were you surprised that he actually went through with it?
Surprised? I don't know if that's the right word.
Did you think he would? Because we all knew this moment was going to come where the guy called in one of these favors. He said so in the premiere. Did you think he was actually going to do it though? Like Ressler would go through with it, or did you think he was going to be Mr. doing his job and find a way to get this guy without getting himself, kind of thing?
Well, I guess if I'm a good FBI detective, I would need to know enough information. So if I were to arrest Prescott on the spot, right? I come to him with the car with the body in it. And I'm like, here, I got your car for you, blah, blah, blah. You're under arrest. You don't know what other information he's given. Like, you don't understand Prescott's network. So you don't know who else might have the information, who might share or leak if Prescott goes missing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all those contingency plans criminals have. So from that regard, I don't think he can just arrest Prescott on the spot. He would need to literally take Prescott out, which is, I think, the offer that Red is presenting at the end of this episode. So I think Ressler at this point is in a game that he can't get out of on his own. He is stuck and he has to play it because otherwise he would be in jeopardy. The only way he can get out of it is if he comes clean to Cooper first, and then they together go work after Prescott, because then it doesn't matter what the information Prescott has.
I was surprised. I really was. I thought there was going to be some. I thought they were going to try and get out of this one somehow. I thought the writers were going to try and find a way around this so Ressler wasn't directly because what happened with Laurel Hitchens was an accident, really, kind of. It was probably involuntary manslaughter if you had to break it down to a charge, but he could easily have gotten a not guilty plea for that one. The situation now is he's officially a criminal, so I kind of thought maybe they would find a way to dance around that to a degree, but instead I give them credit because they went for it. Ressler is officially no better than Tom or Red. I mean, he might be less of a criminal, but he's no less complicit, and he just committed another crime. Because once you cover the death up of Laurel Hitchens, that's already a crime. Now he's covering up another one. I mean, that's man, he's interfering with an investigation. There's all kinds of obstruction of justice. There's a lot of different charges that he's already got now. He's involved in that murder too. I mean, that's just part of the law. And I would argue that a good FBI agent wouldn't do those things. So I would say he's no longer Mr. doing his job. He's the gnome. He got kicked.
He got kicked big time.
He got kicked.
And he's going to get kicked again.
Yeah, and he acknowledges he's in a deep hole. So how far do you think he will go? Do you have an opinion? Like, how far do you think? What's the line Ressler gets to where? And I gotta give the writers credit that they're taking him down a road I really didn't think they would go, because they've always tried to keep him as clean as possible. And the character itself, but I can see, they did it in a plausible way. It works for me, like how they've done it. And I really thought it would be a stretch if they ever got to this point. They really worked it out well. How low do you think he can go though before he either tells Liz or asks for Red's help or one of those things?
I think by the time he gets to that low point though, he's gonna have a complete meltdown and just run his hands through his hair and mess it all up like, ah.
We all know that's not gonna happen. That hair ain't going anywhere. Even if he messed it up, it'd be perfect. It'd just fall back into place. The guy's like a statue.
I think he'll go as far as he can as long as he doesn't have to pull a trigger. Like him killing somebody, I think, is where it would stop.
What if it would be to kill the cleaner? Or be complicit in the cleaner's death, in Prescott's death. Like he agrees to ask Red for his help. So he's indebted to Red, which causes like another problem.
That's the question of the week.
Yeah,
right?
Well, it is. Yeah, it is. So it's a good thing for you to answer. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard because is it better to be with my enemy or the enemy that I know? If he's been tailing Red all these years as part of the task force, I think I'd rather take Red up on his offer, get rid of Prescott, and then I might be indebted to Red and have to do some stuff for Red. But at the same time, I've been doing stuff for Red for 5 years, or 4 years and a little bit. And at least I know the MO of Reddington because of all the studying that I have. Right now, Prescott's a loose cannon. I can't trust him. I don't know when he's going to show up. I don't know what his buttons are. So no, I would take Red up on the offer and kill Prescott and move on.
Ooh, really? Do you think Ressler would do that?
I don't know if Ressler would have to pull the trigger, but
do you think he would go? You just said that
him and Red would conspire to get rid of Prescott in some fashion. Yes,
you said, but he won't actually do the killing himself.
Correct.
That's where you think he drops the line. Okay.
Yes.
I definitely think that Red was tossing out there like, "Hey, I know you're in trouble. Hey," and he'd be more than happy to let him be indebted to him, and I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen before the end of this season.
Agree.
Definitely. Yeah. Or this first half of the season. Now you got some cool facts from the Mongolian
peasant principle. Yes. It is a true thing. And
is it really?
Yes, it is. It comes from the times of Stalin in Russia, which I thought, hey, what a cool catch. Being Russia, tied to the show, Russia. I thought that was kind of cool. So it's rumored that Stalin had a psychologist working for him who could get a person to confess to just about any crime, regardless of whether they'd actually committed it or not. The psychologist says, you see, everybody has a Mongolian peasant in his life, and everyone has done something for which they feel deep, deep shame. I hunt around in their memory until I find it, and then once I found the peasant, I dangle him in front of their eyes until the person is writhing in shame for being such a wretched human being that he will confess to anything to atone for it. So the Mongolian peasant principle is actually the similar story to the one that Ressler actually tells in the show, except in the case of Stalin's regime, the Russian general basically offers 1 million rubles, hence why he offered $1 million to Aaron earlier, to the person that they want gone if they push the button that they talked about. So the shame overtakes them, they commit suicide, not spending a dime of the million, and therefore getting rid of the problem before they can squeal and talk and spill on Stalin and the people. Now, why it's called the Mongolian Principle is because back in Stalin's time in the late 1930s, Japan was actually invading the mainland and in what is now the Eastern Soviet Union. And in order to thwart the advance, Mongolia agrees to let the Red Army station troops inside of Mongolia to thwart the Japanese threat. But some of the Mongolians are actually against it. So between 1937 and 1939, Stalin basically wipes out around 30,000 Mongolians and about 4% of the population, as well as cultural artifacts and animals. Effectively, Mongolia becomes a socialist country under the influence of the Soviet Union.
That's fascinating.
So the Russians don't like the Mongols. Hence the reason why it's the Mongolian principle, peasant principle.
I'm willing to bet money Stalin wore a gimp suit.
You were being all educational and trying to be all PBS, and then you just went all Cinemax on us.
All right. Liz is mostly working the case this week, but she's still maintaining her grip as a fun character. You know what? Of all the people that are a little divided over the tone and stuff this season, I have heard almost zero complaining about Liz, which is great because usually there's something they don't like about where the character is or where she's at or what she decides to do or flip-flopping, that sort of thing. I haven't heard hardly any issues with Liz this season. Would you agree? Do you
I agree.
Disagree?
Yeah, everybody loves the new Liz.
Oh, it's great. She's having a blast. She smiles almost every episode. Like she's enjoying being an FBI. I feel bad when it's all going to come crashing down.
Oh, sorry, like, Liz. We lied to you again.
What do you mean you're my mom?
Tom really doesn't. That's what you did there. Especially when Tommy's like, I really don't want to get married to you because I'm not really Tom.
Let me tell you, I saw the preview for next week. I'm not going to tell anybody what it says or does, but if you can find it on YouTube, I watched it and my head just hit the floor. Oh, God, please, I got to call in sick for next week's podcast. I don't want to be here for this. I'm just afraid of where it might go.
That's fun. I can't wait.
Well, anyway, the character list has been great. I really love the moment where she almost shot the cop. I talked about that, and I was really kind of hoping she would. I was hoping like she would shoot her, just wound her a little bit. I don't know.
Just like one in the toe?
Yeah, just as a warning. You know what? I'm not warning you. I already shot you in the toe. So there you go. But I liked her. Tough Liz. And I really liked the partner covering that they did earlier with Ressler, even though, she was basically covering for him to go commit a crime. But I did like that she, acknowledged that, hey, go take care of your friend. I got this. I like the little partner moment. That was a really sweet moment, I thought.
And it was fun to watch Samar and Liz work together on a case because you had that whole dynamic between the two of them, how she was all angsty about her, in the whole death situation at the start of season 4. So to see that they're actually healed, back together, best buds again, working the cases together, I think that's kind of fun. So I like to see more of the two of them work together on cases.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should have more time to put them together. Ressler's going to be doing a lot of dirty work, apparently. Yeah.
Hey, I just got a call from my brother.
Cars. I'm pretty sure that would be traceable, would it not? I mean, they write down who took the car. So,
well, it'd be traceable because he's using his government-issued phone that he's getting text messages on.
I thought about that, too. I'm like, that seems like, text me the address or the plate number and everything else. I'm like, that seems like a bad plan. It really does to me. They do check these things now.
He's routing it through a VPN on a private server.
Yeah, even the government can get that. I mean, I'm convinced even the flu shot has a government tracker in it. So, yeah, I don't think he's getting away with this one.
Is that why the helicopter's circling over my house right now?
I'm telling you, I got a flu shot, and that's exactly what I said. I'm like, is there a government tracker in this? And the guy just said yes. So, I think it's true.
Truth.
All right, Red. We get confirmation this week that he is actually broke. That has been a debate for the last couple episodes. We got confirmation because when he's in a private conversation with Dembe, they talk about, or at least broke-ish. Now, Do you feel confident that he is broke now?
Yeah, definitely, because I think Dembe is a confidant. And we have no money, we have no plane, we have no guns. So, yep, definitely not in a good state at this present moment.
Yep, I'm feeling pretty dumb for doubting it now. I got to be honest with you. I'm feeling pretty dumb. Did you think he ever got those pickle bites? Because
I don't think no, because he had to leave the Terra Vista Motor Lodge in a hurry, so he never got to the hot tub.
They sounded so good. They did, like, yum.
They are really good. Have you ever had them?
No, no.
Oh, I mean,
are they basically, what are they, pigs? What do they call them?
Well,
pigs over my hammy or something? Or?
Kind of. I mean, I think the proper way to do pickle bites is with corned beef, but you can use ham. Just ham, cream cheese, and pickle, and then you just wrap the ham and cream cheese around the pickle.
That's what I've had. I've had that. I haven't had it with beef.
Yeah,
so
corned beef would be interesting. The salty versus the sweet garlicky. I guess it's a question. Is it garlic vinegar pickles, or is it more the sweet pickles that you would use?
Welcome to the Food Network podcast. Yeah.
Hey, it goes with Douglas's Thursday night recipes, okay?
In our group.
Yes.
What are you having for dinner? I don't know, man. Usually like whatever's frozen. That's what I'm having. This was it sounds like a tasty treat. I gotta try it. I'll try it with ham and beef. Let's just go crazy.
Why not?
A lot of double crosses and arms dealing in this episode to save his own ass, but he gets a plane in the process. How did you feel about him double crossing the gun runner? Don't you think that's a bad call?
I mean,
for him down the road.
I'd like to see more of how do they do the ATF to FBI handoff to see how that works, because it's technically Red's people handing it off to the FBI. So I want to see who's involved in order to make that happen. I think that would be an interesting thing to explore. But at the same time, no, he double crosses people all the time over the last 4 years. So this was nothing new. This was totally telegraphed all the way.
Did he already get the money for the guns, like before he went broke?
No.
Is that what happened?
No, he was supposed to deliver guns to the hombres.
Right, but what did he get for it? I mean, he must have got something for it. Did he get it before?
He probably got an advance payment or something down, way back when, and then he didn't deliver, so they were coming to basically collect back either the guns or the advance payment. And they say, no, we need the guns, so They got the guns.
Okay. Give him all the guns. Nobody saw Death Proof probably that's listening to this. Or, I'm sorry, Planet Terror. Grindhouse. She's like, can't even get the reference right. So what do you think he needs to do next? He's got a plane. He still doesn't have much money, but he does have a plane.
He's got a plane with no fuel and no pilot. So next weekend is Tom going back to stealing some more tanker trucks in front of the hot dog stand. And then there's a pilot that just happens to be at the hot dog stand, so they kidnap him at the same time.
You'd think Red would have learned how to fly by now. Right?
I have people for that. Why would he learn how to fly?
I always find it imperative, even in a leadership position, to know what your people do so that you can fill in if you need to. This is a little management thing. Yeah, that's what I do.
I just say they'll be back on Monday.
You know what? I totally believe that's what you do, actually. I 100% believe that's what you do.
There's nothing you need in this next 5 seconds that's going to make or break whatever you need to do. You could wait 24 hours.
This is Troy's answer. Yeah, I could do it for you. But it's 5 o'clock. So that guy will be back on Monday. He'll take care of it. It's all right. You'll be okay. All right. You found another reference, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes?
Well, it was just another Your Government reference when they were looking at the apartments at the bar or coffee shop or whatever it was that Liz came in at the beginning of the episode. Red said Your Government again. What
was the statement? I don't remember the statement. Do you remember it?
I don't off the top of my head exactly, but it was something about your government and taxes, I think it was.
So you're really hung up on your government as part of your theory, right? Like that connects?
Well, your theory too, if he's the uncle, right? Because with the Wagoneer and Dom, if he's Dom's kid, Dom was Russian because if Katerina was Russian, then that would make him Russian. So therefore, your government makes sense.
Interesting.
But he keeps saying it, so it's got to.
He does keep saying it.
It's got to be something.
I don't think he's ever said our government, but it obviously can also point to he never longer considers himself a citizen. It could definitely point that way too.
Correct.
So, Glenn, Glenn is last because Glenn is one of those characters. I'll be perfectly honest. I wasn't sure how I would feel about him in an expanded role because he's one of those characters who's very fun in spurts. You get him a little bit here, a little bit there, just like you just get a little taste of him and it's just enough to make you want to see him as soon as possible again. But it's not too much to where you're like, I got too much Glenn. So I was a little worried him getting more screen time because that can dilute some of that joy. But I think he really brought a lot of fun and heart into the episode, which I was not expecting. I really was not expecting. The end, I thought, brought a lot of heart. So what did you think about Glenn in this episode? I mean, he really got to showcase.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the beginning sequence in the DMV when he's like, it just didn't feel right dicking around with you because you seem like you're in a bad place. I think he's still bull-faced lying. He absolutely wants to dick around with him. So by telling him that he wouldn't dick around with him, it is dicking around with him. So I really love the exchange they have there during the DMV sequence. The plane sequence, oh my gosh.
Well, hang on before you move on.
Yeah.
The reason I like that so much is because I think he really wants to jerk around with him, but he doesn't. Like he really doesn't. And Red looks beaten. I mean, in this whole scene,
did you see the lady sitting next to him eating the ribs? I mean, come on. I would look defeated too. That was really gross.
That was really gross.
I never want to eat ribs ever again.
Well, not only that, but he's there, fedora in hand, so to speak, begging for money. He's basically begging for money or he's going to be killed. And he knows that. And I think that was a real heavy moment for Red. I think Glenn seemed to realize that they have an uneasy friendship to a degree and common interests. So he agreed to help him. That's a big ask for $1 million. I mean, the guy works for the DMV. How can he have $1 million just laying around? But apparently he does. And I thought it was a sweet moment between the two of them.
And clearly he does not live with his mom since he's going to be camping out at the plane now.
Apparently. Now moving on to the plane. I'm sorry to cut you off. So what about the plane?
And then the plane sequence I just thought was, it's classic Glenn, right? Glenn Carter plays this thing so well. I mean, just the whole another dog, help myself, there's mosquitoes out here, let's one go, sleep with the door open. I mean, all of it is just classic Glenn. It was so good. And then to have him sit down and just have Red be completely disgusted with him, but at the same time, like, give him the beer, pat on the shoulder, Like you're one of us. Like you're a good man. Tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. Like
it really did, because you could tell. I mean, he is a character that is so annoying, he's charming. You know what I mean? He's one of those characters.
Yeah.
So annoying, he's charming. So, kind of blunt that he's charming. And when they have that moment and he comes back and he's going to hang out with them, and you see that we just say disgust is a good word for it. Look on Red's face. Oh, God, no, please, anything but this. I don't need this today. Especially
when it's already like, you got your money. You can go now.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, Felicia. But then he realizes that, you know what? If it wasn't for this guy, I wouldn't be here right now. And gives him that little pat on the back. It's kind of like, you know what? I couldn't have done this without you. Thanks, pal. It's just a sweet moment, and I think it was played the right way, as opposed to coming across fake or forced.
Yeah, it's super. This was on point. I mean, this was probably one of the best things about the Blacklist, I think, so far in the entire run of the show. This was Red realizing, hey, I can't do this alone. I do need to surround myself with good people, and good people are hard to find. And when you get them, you got to reward them.
Absolutely. So overall, you have another little fun fact about this episode, yeah?
Oh yeah. Well, so this whole DMV sequence, when Glenn says, "Who loves you, baby?" In the DMV, there was a great article on ET Online, and we'll link to that in the case profile over at theblacklistexposed.com for this episode, where they talked about like what's in the script versus what makes it onto the show. And when Glenn says, "Who loves you, baby?" They were supposed to play the Four Seasons song, "Who Loves You, Baby?" which would have gotten a song earlier in the episode than when we saw the elephants. But unfortunately, because of the songs they already had in the episode, this was too expensive and they had to scratch it. So literally you had a cold transition between the DMV and then the scene back in the post office. So kind of sad, because I think that would have been a cool swell as they went into that transition. But sometimes budgets are budgets. It is what it is. But we'll have that full article up there. It's a really fun read, especially when you can see John's handwritten notes on the scripts. So definitely check that out at ET Online, and we'll have that link again at theblacklistexposed.com.
I could tell like the cut felt a little abrupt, I guess. Who loves you, baby? And then it was like to the next thing.
Yeah, there wasn't even a Dave Porter transition sweep or anything. It was just flat. So it was good to have the article to know that, because when we watched it the second time, you're like, yeah, I could totally see it. It's just kind of like
something's missing here. Yeah, something belongs here.
Exactly.
Something should be here. Like they're even telling you, pretend this song is here because we ran out of cash. We spent it all getting this stupid plane out of the Lost set. We flew it in from Hawaii. Just in from Oahu. So overall, we're 3 episodes in before we go to our Red's Rhetoric and all that. We're 3 episodes in. We're a little ways into the season. We've got a firmly established narrative going forward. It's the Red rebuilding portion of the season. How do you feel so far about season 5?
Loving it so far. I dig the rebuilding part. This was another rebuilding part. Now I have a plane. I have a home, at least until a hiker finds me or Aaron's buddies on their camping trip. I think it's all thumbs up so far. Blacklister a little bit weak this week, but they'll turn that around. I mean, there's always one that just kind of fizzles out that people don't resonate with.
Again, I think it's probably, and I tried to look at it in perspective. I think if it wasn't so close to recent events, I mean, just a lot of that over the summer and actually over the last year. And I really, there's a plus to that because it's a timely topic. It makes it something that people will talk about when the episode's over. So maybe that's a good thing to a lot of people. It sparks a conversation. There's nothing wrong with sparking a conversation. For me, it just didn't resonate as much as I would like. But overall, character stuff was great. The first 3 episodes, I'm really enjoying. I like how they're, they are carrying varying tones with the show and they're maintaining that. I don't find it to be just like a straight Ocean's 11 vibe. I feel like it's definitely there and it's a lot of fun, but there's still the dark undertones. There's still the underlying mystery of what's going on. Why does he need Liz? Why is he back in her life at this moment, at this time? And, and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff is still there and resonating with people. And I think it's a blast. Most of the people I'm talking to are really loving this season so far.
Especially with all the on-the-nose commentary, right? If I really wanted you dead, Tom, I'd shoot you in the head.
Haha. Dun, dun, dun.
That's why I hate the foreshadowing thing, because now you're like, oh, every piece of dialogue has to point back to the foreshadowing thing.
I didn't. I like it. I really like it. You and I are completely divided on that. I really liked it.
I'd rather just have the line be the line rather than being like, oh, we said that because of the foreshadowing thing.
No, I love it more and more because I'm sitting there going, man, because I know I really firmly believe he's not going to take a bullet. I really just think that's misdirection, and it's just part of TV. But I do, I mean, how many times have we seen that 36 hours later and it looked like, to use YFO, it looked like McGarrett was going to bite it in the beginning. And then, of course, he saves everybody at the end. I don't think Tom's going to die. I think that was just misdirection. But I like that. I like trying to figure out I'm a big puzzle guy. I love mysteries. I like trying to figure out, so what's point A to point B? How are we going to get to that point? And seeing as it progresses when we start connecting the dots. I love those things.
So if Tom dies, are you going to be shocked? Sad to see him go?
What's the right way to say that without offending anybody?
We just offended everybody shocked. Because you just told everybody you have no way to talk about it.
I'll be shocked. Won't be. Well, I will because I don't want Ryan to go. I like Ryan. I think he does a really good job.
I like this Tom. The Tom this season, I love this Tom.
Actually, I do. I actually think so far Tom hasn't, but I still don't like him and Liz together. I never have.
Correct.
I just, it's always, that's a thing for me. But I will say, I kind of tried to let that go last season. So you can listen to the episodes last season. I really didn't bring it up a whole lot. And
but part of you, when they had sexy time last week, made your skin crawl a little bit.
I'm like, she should really just be beating his ass right now. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. But if you let I do like their dynamic this season. I think it's worked well. I think we've got 3 episodes without Agnes. That's great. I love that, even though it's kind of like, when's she going to show up with a milk carton? It's got to happen at some point. Or just have a kid that looks like last season's Agnes or something, and then you finally see her and she's, a little older, a different kid. That sort of thing. I have liked Tom a lot this season. I mean, he's gotten some of the best lines, and I do like how he can pull off like that. Really, I know it sounds like such a nothing moment, but when he does it, really, like, it worked so well, and it was my favorite moment of the episode. I couldn't stop laughing, and it's credit to Ryan. So I don't know if I want him to go. I really don't want him to go. But the Tom and Liz thing, is it going to work? Blah 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 blah. I don't want that anymore. How's that? I don't want that anymore. So if that means that that's the only way that stops, then sure.
And the reason why that stuff with Tom works, like because that's the best part of Redemption when it was on, was the whole Tom and Solomon back and forth. So the more they can put Tom and Red together in these next couple episodes,
banter. Yeah,
the banter is fantastic. Really, really great.
Yeah.
So more of that.
I would be shocked. I would be 100% shocked. I would be damn near stunned because I don't think they're going to do it. I feel like they really enjoy the character of Tom. I try to take the actor out of it because it's really just, it's a part, and I think the writers enjoy the character of Tom. He can be fun to write to. He can function a lot of ways for the audience. He can be deceitful. He can be direct. He can be heartfelt. There's a lot of ways he can fill a void. The one thing he can't do is be part of the task force. If they could make him part of the task force, that would solve a lot of the narrative problems. Like, how do we keep Tom in the mix? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's where I see a lot of the struggle. I feel like Tom is a lot of times forced into the episode where he doesn't really belong. And if they could find a different way to do that, I think that would work to the show's benefit.
Which I think was the benefit of this week, because I think that's how you work him in. You work him in
Absolutely.
As part of Red's group.
It works.
Plus, then it makes that interesting tension happen between Red and Tom because of the suitcase issue.
And because, they don't like each other.
Clearly, I closed the door on you. I'm not being inconspicuous at all. Like, don't listen to my phone conversation, buddy.
Yeah.
Behind this
very
clouded
clearly
glass.
Does not like him. While I do think there is a Red and Ressler almost begrudging admiration to a degree.
Well, yeah, he chased him for so long. I mean,
I think it's like slightly admires him.
Yeah, you feel bad for him. I mean, he came over that one episode. He comes over to Narcotics Anonymous to find him, to like pull him out and say, "Hey, I was in the same place you are. I get it. I understand." So I love their dynamic, and I've always wanted to see more Ressler and Red work together in a lot of ways, just to see where the tensions would be. So I hope that he takes Red up on his offer, because I'd love to see a Ressler Red episode, like go full tilt. That'd be interesting.
Oh, maybe like Laurel and Hardy. You decide who's who. All right, well, that's going to do it for the main stuff. Let's get to some fun stuff.
All right, we'll be back with Red's Rhetoric right after this.
Hey, this is Martin Flash.
And I'm Cammie the Chameleon, and we're the hosts of Arrow Squad.
Join us here each Saturday during Arrow season for all the info and conversation about all of Star City's heroes.
And villains. We'll be covering the highs.
Oh man, did you see Dinah tonight? Once again, the stunt choreography was fantastic.
And the lows.
Now, if I could just be salty Cammie for a second.
We'll be answering all your questions.
And sharing all your thoughts and theories about what's going down with Team Arrow.
So join us here each week.
We are the Arrow Squad.
Hey, this is Amir. I play Aram on The Blacklist, and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed.
Welcome to Red's Rhetoric, that part of the show where we play 2 scenes from this week's episode of The Blacklist, and then you get to vote which one is your favorite over at theblacklistexposed.com. Just look for the post for Miss Rebecca Thrall. Last week, 80% of you enjoyed looking at Fine China as hashtag Red Paddle won last week's vote. This week, our first clip comes when Red channels his inner ornithologist.
Adika, I appreciate the good faith, and if your merchandise is as good as I hear, there's no end to what you and I can.
What is it?
Shh. You hear that? There it is again.
I don't hear anything.
A piping plover. Their breeding grounds are along coastal beaches and alkali marshes. So, to hear that bell-like call from a shorebird this far inland, my gosh, poor little fella must be lost.
You want to talk birds or guns? Impressive.
Not if you're a lonely little plover.
The other 5 crates are in the jet. 50 caliber and 3 Gs as discussed.
Dembe, if you could please grab Mr. Bohati's payment. Levi, you look fit. You can help me load the merchandise.
Our second clip comes as Cooper and Red enjoy a 2-for-1 special.
I understand you stumbled your way into a new jet.
Yes. I can't wait to get airborne. This is the longest I've been grounded in some time. But not to worry, Harold. It's a 2-for-1 special this week. You not only get Miss Rebecca Thrall, you also get that despicable African gunrunner your agency's been hunting for years. I need you to arrange for him to be taken into FBI custody directly from my people.
You still have people?
I make friends easily.
And this gunrunner, Bahari, did he happen to have any guns?
Not this time. We mustn't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Which was your favorite? If you prefer the call of the wild, vote hashtag Red Plover. Or if you would rather mow it all down, including those giant mosquitoes, vote hashtag Red Guns.
All right, now we're on to Special Agent Intel.
I think you're just impressed that I came up with ornithologist.
I'm impressed that you can say it because I can't. I can't. Big words elude me. I already talked about that.
It's definitely not lepidopterology, but...
Yeah, I can never. I don't even remember what that means.
It was
anymore.
the study of butterflies, wasn't it?
It was a joke. I've moved on. See, I'm already over it. I watched Silence of the Lambs. I get it. All right. First, let's check in with some of the thoughts over the past few weeks that we may have missed, because the first 2 episodes of the season we actually did right after they aired. I mean, like immediately after they aired, because we were short on time. We were really in time crunches, so we did miss a couple of interesting stuff we wanted to bring up. Sharon Crady, who's a new listener, welcome. Thank you, Sharon, for checking us out. I listened for the first time this week. I believe it was Blacklist 91, which was that season 1 that was premiere?
Yeah, it was the premiere of season 5, yep.
Okay. I found it interesting, but I cannot believe one of the guys believes that the bones in the suitcase are the real Red and that Katarina took over Red's identity. Blacklist is fiction, not science fiction. If anything, the bones in the suitcase are supposed to be her, but they are not, which means she's still alive, and Red doesn't want Liz to know that. I'm bored with this. Because he doesn't want Liz to find her mom. Liz is apparently afraid of becoming like Red because of DNA. Maybe she should be afraid of becoming like her ruthless KGB agent mom, like Mother like daughter. Because one of those guys on this podcast is a dum-dum. Okay.
That's me. Rachel Towns said, want to know if anyone else is curious who this new FBI director is. We've been hearing about it for 2 episodes, but yet haven't seen the director yet.
Who do you think it is? They're still trying to cast a special guest star.
I'm sure that's probably what it is, but the fact that they keep talking about it, like I need blacklisters. The director's breathing down my neck. It seems like the FBI director should be bigger than what it is. So maybe there's a storyline.
Tony Almeida.
How many 24 references can you spot in this episode?
You already got Kate Warner, man. Just Tony Almeida. Let's do it. He's free. I keep waiting for him to pop up on Designated Survivor. I thought that would be. By the way, if you saw the most recent episode of that show, he went full Jack Bauer in a scene. I'm just saying, I was waiting for him to shoot somebody. I'm like, President can't talk like that. You can't do it. All right, sorry, that was off on a tangent. Jan from Sydney chimed in. Sydney, Australia. Good day. Finally, I can comment. TV in Australia is playing the Blacklist episodes only 5 days behind the U.S. airing instead of at least a week. And at the end of last year, it was nearly 3 weeks after. What?
That just seems wrong.
Not right. You guys gave us Crocodile Dundee. We should respect you more.
They also start. They also start the day ahead of us because the sunrise is there first. They should be getting the episodes a day before the U.S.
Great point, Troy. Great. That was worth interrupting me for.
It
sure
was.
I love this episode and was LOL at the mansion scenes at the end. Love the new lighter Liz, and her look between Red and Tom at the end was priceless. Love Megan Boone. Not sure I'm happy to see Tom back. I can do without him. Also, the sex between them. Arg. I mean, I get where Tom's coming from, but that's beside the point. I thought that Red giving the USB stick and the diamonds to Harold was to show Harold and the rest of the FBI that Red still had value to them. Kind of like self-protection almost.
I get that.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm. I also think that Liz was always badass, and she has just been pushing it aside. Remember a Madeline Pratt episode where Red asked her about her time with Frank. Also, now that she believes Red is her father, it's kind of like she feels like she has permission to show more badassery. I agree. I think she's, like I said, there's nothing I dislike about Liz this season at all.
Yeah, she's playing a kick-ass. She's using her superpower. She's pointing guns at people. It's fun. It's good stuff. Cannot complain.
I might have a complaint about these parents because are they actually seeing their child? Are they at least going into the kid's room, checking on her? Because it feels like she has a lot of alone time.
Oh, well. Agnes. Oh, my goodness. Okay, now we'll move on to the feedback from Ms. Rebecca Thrall. James Steen checks in. He says, hey, Troy. Hey, Aaron. Hope that Aaron enjoyed the time off and hope your move, Troy, was very easy one. So
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In 4 days. It was amazing. So this past week was very interesting to me. It seemed like it was 2 different shows in one. One being a normal Blacklist show and another one similar to NCIS with a little different twist. The real question, though, what happened to the tree stumps?
Well, didn't the elephants pull them out by the roots? That's what I'm hoping.
Maybe.
They're strong.
Maybe.
Elephants are really strong, man. They're like really... Go read a book. They're super strong.
Those are really big trees, though. But those are big, big stumps. And you would think that if I have to use dynamite or something to blow up the stumps to break them up, I mean, chainsaws maybe could get it down to enough, but there would be like sawdust trails. And maybe that's what the elephants were doing, was just spreading the sawdust by pulling the branches behind.
Don't be a buzzkill. You know, it's a TV show. It happens. We got elephants. If you could buy elephants running around on this forest preserve, I think you can buy the tree stumps going away. That's what I would go with.
The elephants were awesome, I have to admit.
But good point. Very, very good point. Oh, well.
Although
Don checks in.
I'm
sorry.
I do have to say, when he says, hey, I have to wait for, I can't remember the elephants' names off the top of my head, and I didn't write them down, but when he says the elephants' names, and then they show the elephants in the shot, I wish they would have waited to the others when Red's like, who is Elephant 1 and Elephant 2? I wish they would have waited and done the scene where he just shows up with the elephants and says, Red, meet so-and-so and so-and-so. And just to see the look on Red's face when that happened, I thought that would have been priceless. But
you're a dork.
I would have just shot it differently. That's all.
Dom checks in. The first 5 to 10 minutes seemed a little off in the pacing, but the rest was fine. So I may be just imagining it. Stands out in this episode were, in my opinion, Ressler's storyline, which worked. Stuff involving the body and the trunk were funny. I don't know about funny. I mean, the guy's, that's his whole life being thrown away right there. Number 2, Tom, who got interesting stuff to do again that did not involve Liz. I thought he was pretty good.
I agree.
I agree too. Number 3, the First National Bank of Glenn. It's always fun to see Glenn, although the tone was a little different this time. But once I adjusted, it was all good. I would also add that this convinces me that Red really is pretty broke. No one is ever going to know about Glenn, so using him as an ATM would not help if Red, for some reason, was trying to project that he was much more broke than he really is. I agree.
I agree too.
And number 4, Smokey and Hetty. I like them, but their squabbling could have reached the annoying level if it had gone on any longer. As it was, they were fun, and I'm glad they came back. Smokey's use of the elephants was a nice touch. I agree with that it was just the right length. A little bit longer, and it would have been over the top.
Yeah, it almost seemed like Red was trying to figure out, when do I break these two up? Like, it almost like I'm enjoying this at the same time. It's annoying.
Finally, Rebecca Thrall. Were we supposed to have run into her before? Something someone said near the end gave me that impression, but I don't remember her, and I can't find the actress listed on IMDb for any prior episode. No, I don't think she was in any prior episode.
No, this was the first time she's been on Blacklist. People may have confused her with Vanessa Cruz, potentially. But no, definitely standalone by herself. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Don. Jennifer Johnson chimed in, said, I love how Red is helping the FBI and rebuilding his empire at the same time. Also, still love Red's contempt for Tom. If I wanted you gone, I'd put a bullet in your head myself. But you're important to Liz, so you're important to me. Seems like some foreshadowing there. Yeah, I agree. We kind of talked about that already. The fact that I don't like the foreshadowing comment because now everything points to it, and Aaron says, no, I love the puzzle pieces. So, is what it is.
Yeah, you sure didn't mind it when it happened on Lost or Alias, but whatever. All right. Grace Norman.
I'm just burnt out on it now because it happened so many times before. That's
all. Let's play a game called Shut Up, I'm Talking. Grace Norman says, I'm honestly loving this season so much. It's great to see the different dynamic, and I love that Red had to put his trust in Smokey even though he wasn't sure he could pull it off. Never fear, he brought the elephants. Ressler taught us that if your life is nuts and you don't want to lie, just tell the truth. No one will believe you that you have bones in your trunk. We didn't even talk about that. That was fantastic.
That was my opening of the show.
Yeah, but I don't listen to you when you talk. It was fantastic that he did that he pulled it off. That was great.
I was helping
He actually told the truth.
I got a body in the trunk. I got to get rid of it for him. He's so nonchalant. It was so great.
And then they're over there going, yeah, he's got a body in the trunk. I'm like, no, he does. He just confessed. So technically, he actually can say, I never lied to you. I told you the truth.
Yep.
Your fault you don't believe me.
He pulled a Red.
All right. Well, it's always great. He goes on to say, it's always great to see Glenn. He's one of my favorites. I never thought that Red and Tom were being arrested. The whole time I was thinking it was a setup. Thank goodness it was. I love that Red just handed Tom off as collateral. And when Tom complained to Liz, she didn't have any pity for him. That was a very interesting Blacklister, but I found myself really paying more attention to the main characters' personal lives and almost ignoring the Blacklister. All in all, always a great episode.
Okay, at least some of the people are on the same page with us in that regard. Julie Fromart says, I love this episode from start to finish. Does anyone else wonder if Kate destroyed Dembe's finances as well? Why didn't Red ask him for money? And I love seeing Jellybean again.
That's a good question.
Yeah, why not borrow from Dembe? Maybe he knows secretly that he can't borrow from Dembe because he's trying to save up for his culinary school of pasta making. But he doesn't want to jeopardize that dream for Dembe.
How are you feeling about that dad joke? You feel good? Do you? All right, Wendy Davies. Between the funnies that's been going on, they are balancing it out with the important stuff, and I like the pace they are going with, slowly building up the momentum until normal service will be resumed. I know. Well, no, people. I have seen that a lot. What if this is just the tone going forward? What if they kind of just did a rebuild? You know, some shows do that. They do a rebuild where the darker takes like a backseat and it's more light. Like it's more zippy quippy and less dark, as opposed to more dark and a little quippy. Well, what do you think if it maintained that?
There's a significant time change as well. You're going from 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
It does matter.
It does matter.
Yeah.
So
it does matter.
I think you're still going to get the dark. I think this is the calm before the storm, and it's going to probably get pretty dark pretty quick. So you just gotta wait and see. I think that the funness is still going to be there, but the darkness is going to be coming in slowly, inch by inch, as we get along for the rest of this first half of the season.
I think they were, my opinion, I have no idea, but I really feel like when they were switching to the earlier time slot, they were just trying to woo in a few people that might not have checked it out before, or gave it you kind of get them into the characters a little bit by, you get engaged, you're interested, it's fun, and then you start pulling out the plot as you go. The deeper, darker stuff. I mean, that's just my thought. I noticed how the new Lizzie didn't appear to bat an eyelid. I wouldn't call her new, but I see what you're saying. When Tom relayed to her what Red did to him on that assignment, the old Lizzie would have severed Red's nuts for sure. Wow.
Yeah, season 1 Lizzie did exactly that in the that Storm of the Sea of Galilee episode. Like, you put Tom through all this stuff, I'm done with you. This is just this is par for the course.
She's used to it now, and it's her dad, so according to her. This interesting conversation between Red and Tom in the back of the van. The Ressler arc is too really disinteresting.
No, I think that's interesting.
Oh, interesting that the D is like it was.
There's like an emoji there. Yeah.
Okay. The Ressler arc is too building up nicely, and it was great to see Red offers help. I have a feeling once upon a time, Red may have been a wrestler of sorts back in the day. Then we had Glenn, the glorious jelly bean. Always a welcome feature in the show, and I especially enjoyed that the writers chose to end the episode with the warm fuzzies of Red, Dembe, and Glenn around the campfire. Yep, this season is shaping up rather nicely.
Yeah, I really do love all the touchy-feelies that came up in that scene. Man, it's so good. So good. Nate said, I have to say that I enjoy this episode thoroughly. I like the showrunners giving us a slow yarn as we see Red methodically build his empire. I thought it was interesting that Red reached out to Glenn for money since he instantly became a millionaire after he took that rare penny last week. Glenn was comic gold as usual. He's truly reliable and loyal. Tom needs to keep his mouth shut when he's scared. I was surprised he didn't mention the bones when he thought they were going to prison. He's going to get himself into trouble. Talking about trouble, Ressler is heading into a train wreck and he knows it. Who knew that Ressler could tell a story just as good as Red could? That was a great moment. I wonder when Ressler is going to take Red's offer. Red's plan unfolded on so many levels without a hiccup, and it was beautiful. I don't know why Cooper is doubting Red's abilities to nab blacklisters. Red is doing that with panache.
And I didn't bring that up in the character stuff, and I should have, so that's my fault for not putting it in the format. But when Ressler does tell his story to the female cop, and it's very much, you were talking, it's parable, basically. Very, very intriguing story. He does it very well. It does it very Reddish like. And now you do see that he is following a similar path as Red. Maybe Red is reaching out to help him as a way to show him that he's been there before. He understands what he's going through. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like they're mirroring each other now?
I think that we kind of talked about that a little bit through the course of season 1 and season 2, where if you've been following somebody and this has been your whole life, well, look at Gale last season, right? Mm-hmm. You've been following him so long. Do you actually get into the mind of who you're following and kind of become that person? So I don't think it's to that degree in this sense with Ressler, but it's close in that we have a very similar storyline, and maybe Red is trying to atone for the things and decisions he's made over the years by trying to help Ressler into his situation. But at the same time, Red is a bad guy. So again, helping him out does come with a price. We just don't know what that will be.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way. I kind of wonder if they're going to explain Red through Ressler to a degree.
That would be interesting to see that play out.
Mm-hmm.
Like as we're watching Red rebuild the Empire, we're seeing how he would have put these pieces into place over those 20 years that he was leading up to turning himself into the FBI. And at the same time, we're seeing why Red had to make those decisions as Ressler lives out his part of the story. I think that would be a great way to give answers without being so in the face.
And having tons of exposition.
Exactly.
So it could be a very interesting way. I think that's it for this episode, man. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Anything you?
Yeah, nothing new or special on this end. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and wrap her up for another week.
Are you excited about next week's episode now that you have seen the preview?
I'm interested.
Or is that a misleading NBC kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, we know how we feel about that sometimes.
We know how you feel about it.
We'll just see how it plays out. I'm interested to see where that storyline goes next week and what it actually implies or entails.
Well, contrary to our earlier complaints or issues with the Blacklist, we really enjoyed this episode. Great season so far. We're really looking forward to what's coming next. And that's going to conclude this episode, though. So be sure to come back next week and follow us on Twitter at The Blacklist GSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed, and use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist.
Don't forget to follow us on Tumblr, Instagram, and join our Facebook group as well. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed, talk about the show, the podcast, or share your favorite leftover meal. John will really appreciate it.
You can also subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or your favorite podcast app of choice. You can even listen from the website, but if you're really on the go, make sure you download our app for iOS or an Android powered by Spreaker. You will find all the intel and analysis about this episode for Miss Rebecca Thrall by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week. Should Ressler take Red up on his offer?
Maybe. You decide.
That's not an answer. And why? I want to know why,
and
too,
why?
if you think
yes.
so.
No yes and no's. Yes and no's is not allowed.
Yes and no. All right. Thanks for listening. Take care, guys.
See you next week. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.